Hello, and my name is Pete Rushmer, and I'm your host today of a Half Dozen Things podcast. A Half Dozen Things is a podcast for business owners just like you. Whether you're an underdog hungry for success, or you're already smashing it but want to continue to level up, we are here each week for you to get insight and learning from the very best in the business. No fluff, no BS, and no self-proclaimed gurus talking about how easy business or life is. I'm buzzing to be joined today by Pete White from White's Transport Services. He's the mastermind behind their Facebook page with over 80,000 followers and absolutely hilarious Facebook posts. I really do recommend you follow their page. Have a listen to today's episode. Pete's an absolute gentleman and a real stalwart of the transport sector. I'm dead pleased to have him on the show. Please do listen and share it with your friends. I don't know if you just got that, but an American lady just told us we were recording.
Yeah, I've got it, yeah.
Red lights rolling then, Pete. So today, listeners, I'm joined by Pete White of White's Transport Services. What an absolute legend Pete is. He makes my day every time I look on social media and I see Facebook and I see what White's have been up to. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So, Pete, and I've seen your emails as well. I think you've got an interesting job title as well, not just transport manager. So for the benefit of the listeners who may not necessarily follow White's Transport Services, and if you don't, I recommend that you do, because it's the best Facebook page out there. I think it's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, Pete, tell people a little bit about who you are, what you do, and that kind of thing, mate.
Well, I've been running my dad's business, White's Transport Services, for probably the last 20 years. Even though Ray's number one, he's sort of taken a back seat and leaves the operational stuff to me. We run a fleet of, we got 30 trailers, we got 18 of our own trucks, and we run subcontractors pulling our trailers and their own trailers with UK and European fridge work, mainly hanging meat. We're in a niche specialized market. We're exporting British meat into Europe, over to Ireland and back. Wherever we go to, we backload with various seasonal products back into the UK. So when we go to France, we load back with yogurt and bread and wine. And when we go to Italy, it's pastas and pizzas and fruit and vegetables. And it's just, we've got a big network of contacts. We will go absolutely anywhere. And we are just slightly different from your average haulage company.
Yeah, I love that, mate. Love that. And how long's the company been going, Pete? If you didn't say, how long have you been? How long's it been, Ray?
Ray started up as an owner driver in '92. As many owner drivers found it really tough to start with. But really, it was 2003 when we changed from a sole trader to a limited company, which is when I started working for him. Just before then, and we sort of grown to where we are today. We're only on 18 trucks, but with the work that we've got, we could double that. We could have gone much bigger than we have. But as we're a family-based company, it's just, I run the operational side. My brother Dan runs the office. My dad's wife Paula is the company secretary in charge of all the finances, and then Ray just sort of oversees it all, if you like. But but it's just, if the bigger we got, the more staff we would have to take on, and we just like to keep it as a family company. We've employed outside people before, doesn't work for us. We are your definition of a family-run business.
Yeah, love that, Pete. And I think that's great that you keep it in the business as well, because as you let people in, that can sometimes change the way things are done, and it doesn't happen the way you want it to, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we've tried it before. It just didn't work. We've taken on people that they're proven to be able to do what they come to do, but it's just a family environment is a different environment to work in. We're working for my dad. I call him Ray. I don't call him my dad. It makes me feel like a child. But we're working for family for Ray. It is the best way to describe it is you have to deal with so much more shit than you would have to do if I was just a normal employee for a normal transport company. But you also get a lot more benefits that you wouldn't get I got a nice company car. I literally left work today at dinner time because I wanted to, and if I didn't want to go in tomorrow, I wouldn't go in. It is I can choose my own hours. I can come and go as I please. But my attitude for the job is, and it always has been, whatever is needed to get the job done, I will do it. If I have to go in at 2 o'clock in the morning to try and ship a load, or to go and tip a load and work till late in the evening, I will. And the difference between us and other people is me and Ray drive ourselves, and we do it because we love driving. So Ray is on his way to Ireland at the minute. We got a driver on holiday, so Ray said he'd jump in the truck for a few days. So he's off to Ireland, which the Irish work is his favourite work. Since Brexit, Ray's not he's not been out the country with a truck since Brexit.
Jesus, okay.
Yeah, Ray is not too keen on all the customs formalities, even though we've got it dialed in. Some of the delays that we get whilst waiting for the clearance, because of the goods that we carry, we have to have extra checks and extra inspections. And to start off with, the delays were quite bad. And Ray said, "No, I'm not doing that anymore." He would do. He would do if we needed to. We both went out the country a month or so ago. We had a driver that was taken ill in Belgium. He was in hospital overnight. They said they were going to keep him in for a couple of days. So me and Ray both went out together. I brought the truck and trailer back, and Ray brought the driver back when he was released from hospital. So that's probably the only time Ray's been out the country since Brexit to do anything regarding work. He's out the country all the time with his hobby, which is motocross racing. From Ray's first marriage, I'm the youngest of 6 sons. And then Ray is remarried to Paula, who's a company secretary, and they have got a son and a daughter. And Ray's son Ben, who's, I think he's 19 now, my brother, he's a pretty keen motocross racer, and that is Ray's hobby. He has got a big RS motocross truck which he takes all over Europe.
Nice.
Recently he's been to Poland, he's been down to Spain, numerous trips to Ireland, Scotland, and Holland and Germany. He goes south of France, and that is what Ray lives for. Ray needs a transport company to subsidise his motocross, because the amount he spends on motocross is eye-watering. But he loves it. He absolutely loves it.
Yeah. Okay, bro. I don't know a lot about it, to be fair, motocross, but I've had friends who are dead into it. Isn't it like, getting the old dirt bikes out and just getting a bit muddy and having a good old race, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a very physical sport. It's not a non-contact sport at all. It is like elbows and knees, and it is a very aggressive hobby. But when I was a kid, my dad was a European lorry driver. So he's had it. So he's been doing it for years. But back in the days where you could do things that you're not allowed to do anymore, Ray would leave on a Sunday night, and he would be home the following Saturday lunchtime. Wherever he went across Europe, he would make sure that he was back on the Saturday, and then it would be Saturday afternoon getting the bikes ready, and then Sunday we would all go racing, and that was our family thing. So he had a pretty hectic life. But all through my childhood, every Sunday was wherever mainly in the southwest of England. I live in Weston-super-Mare. That's where Ray's originally from, and my whole childhood was Sundays. We were at motocross racing wherever it was. But times were hard back then, to beg, steal, and borrow to make it work. But we did make it work. But Ray has now got the time now. And he's probably got the money now where he didn't have it years ago to enjoy motocross and do it how he's always wanted to do it. But he is he's just spent the weekend in Plymouth, and he's away next weekend. He for if you ask Ray what the most important thing is to him, it is motocross, without a doubt.
Definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. That's cool. So, Pete, one of the things I came across, how I come across you and how I come across White's Transport, because I'm all the way up in Peterborough, was Facebook, which is like, obviously it's just like a global thing now, and you've got like a mega following on Facebook, and that's a big thing for you. And I saw probably a couple of years ago now, I think I first started following the page, and I saw a post go up, and it was one of the best transport related posts that I've seen in ages, and I was crying with laughter. And it was one of the drivers has just shared his email address with me, scannierboy48 at hotmail.co.uk. What a melt.
I know. Do you know, I got in trouble for that. I did get in trouble for that. It was on a Friday night, because with the new customs procedures, sometimes the customs documents come through late in the evening, so they send them to me on an email. Then I have to send them to the driver because we do refrigerated work. It is very unsociable hours. There is no time on the 24-hour clock that isn't a start time for a 15-hour shift for one of my drivers. And so I asked all the drivers to send me all of their email addresses so I could send it to our customers and the agents that deal with our customs paperwork. And if this is between these hours, you need to send it back to everybody, but include the driver. So when the drivers leave the abattoirs, they've got 5, 6, 7 hours driving before they get to the Eurotunnel. So, and it takes a few hours to, I got a driver leaving an abattoir at 9 o'clock tonight, and it'd probably be midnight before we get the paperwork. So they now know to send it to the driver. So everybody's got an email address they're quite embarrassed of when they set up when they was a kid. And this lad is a lad called Rich, and I said, I put it on Facebook. What I should have done was I should have cut out a little bit of it, but I didn't. I put it all on there. I'd got home on a Friday night. I'd had a few Coronas. I thought it was quite funny, so I just posted it. And then I fell asleep, woke up in the morning, and I had a call. I had a message from the driver saying, "Call me." So I rang him, and he had his Netflix hacked and his password changed. He had people try and hack into his online banking. He was set up for all of these gay websites and dating apps, and he was screenshotting me everything. It was 100%. And he did see the funny side of it a few days later, but it did take him a while to calm down. But it was fair. It was really funny. It was really, really funny. I shouldn't have put the whole email address down. That was a schoolboy error. But I was probably 3 or 4 Coronas in after a hectic week, and I just thought I post things that I think people will find interesting. So we have got for the last time I checked our Facebook page, we've got 74,000 followers, but we've got 80,000 people we've got 74,000 likes, but we got 80,000 followers. So those 6,000 followers, I believe, are pages that follow us as well. So it's not just people that follow us; it's businesses and other pages that follow us. And it is unreal, the reach that we've got and the following we've got. And it tells me from what parts of the world these people follow us. They are from everywhere. But I do. If I think something is interesting, whether it's something we've done good, whether it's something we've done bad, whether there's any brushes we've had with the authorities in different countries, which we've had many over the years, if I think people will find it interesting, and we do interesting work as well. There is only a very small percentage of drivers that can say that they've driven in Europe. And I think so many of them would love to do it, but A, they've never had the opportunity, or B, they're not brave enough, or C, they got a family at home that won't allow them to do it. But there's numerous reasons why. But I only got my license 3 years ago. There's a sarcastic comment a driver made to me, so which made me get my license, and since then I've done numerous trips across the water. I've been to Holland, I've been to Belgium, I've taken a few trailers that were going to Spain and Portugal, heading down into France and then swapping over, and same with trailers going to Italy. But I'm very soon I'm going to be going to Italy in a truck. I'm just waiting for a really easy job to come up, which is just one delivery rather than the usual multi-drop we do, just to pick a little bit of the cream. But I really want to go through the Mont Blanc into Italy, and then I'm quite happy to go through the tunnel, change trailers, and back again. Just go into the Aosta Valley. I know Europe like the back of my hand. For my geography, I got a daughter that's just about to pick her GCSEs, and I told her to choose Spanish and geography. Are just two things I wish I tried harder with when I was younger. But I do know Europe really, really well. I've known Europe really well for a long time. However, it's only the last 3 years really I've had a chance to do it myself. But it is. It's my job is, I see it as a wheel that's spinning, and you can't let it stop spinning. It has to keep spinning all the time. So what I just took a week off recently. It was the only week off I've had all year, and it took me a lot of long days last week to get working at home, working in the office for 12 hours, and then coming home and working at home for 4 or 5 hours, sat at the table with my laptop, just trying to get my paperwork and my spreadsheets and everything back up to date. Because even though Ray can do it, he doesn't like it anymore. He doesn't want it anymore. And my brother Dan, he is the most laid back, easygoing person you can ever wish to work for. And he's in charge of all the compliance side, the tachographs, the immigration side, the maintenance, and Dan is the reason that the paperwork is very good for us. And I'm not very good. I am more using my brain and just making things happen and planning, and I deal with all the maintenance side. I make sure everything is ready to be sent for MOT, to be sent for inspection, but Dan is the one that deals with all the paperwork after that, because believe it or not, the paperwork side of it is just as important as the operational side of it. If a driver now has a defect, and he sends us a defect report in, a trailer has something wrong with it, you can't just get someone to fix it and forget about it. You now have to have a paper trail of the driver defecting it, us booking it in with a repair, and then the invoice if it needs a set of brake pads, the invoice for those brake pads, and then the proof that it's been done by him. It's the paperwork, the paper trail involved in what we do is enormous. But I can see why. There's when lorries have accidents, it is catastrophic. And when lorries are involved in big accidents, people die. And so I can understand why the safety is such a big thing, which we're all for. Don't get me wrong. It is, but it just creates so much work. We all, me, Dan, and Ray's wife Paula, we all work really hard, probably too hard to be honest. But it is. I'm a bit of a control freak with the way I plan my trucks. I've seen many people and how they plan, and I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but I would say I'm different to everyone else. The way I organise it.
Yeah, got you. I think I've made a business out of the compliance side of stuff, Pete. To be honest, because there's so much to do, and it's so hard for operators to stay right. And we're just there to try and help, really. But one of the things I was going to ask you then, with you being so heavily involved with Europe and that kind of thing, what side of the fence did you sit on? I know we're dating back a little bit, but with the old Brexit thing, did you have a bit of a strong opinion on that then?
I've got a bit of an embarrassing story about this, I'll be honest.
Okay, let's go for that.
So I was 50-50 for Brexit. Okay. I actually didn't vote for our business side of it. I thought it was more important to remain. But on a personal level, because of immigration, I wanted to leave. So I didn't vote. I was on the fence. But I'm on Twitter as well. I don't use Twitter as a social media platform very much. I use Twitter for information. I follow all of the roads policing groups around the UK. And for me, it just is, if there is something that is mega happening anywhere in the world right at the second, Twitter is where you'll get the information first. But I drunkenly someone commented something about Brexit, and I put a comment on there saying that I can't wait for us to leave, and I think it was something that Katie Hopkins or Nigel Farage put, and I just commented, and I don't know how it was years ago, but somebody screenshotted that, and I'd done an interview for the BBC. And I was on the BBC like in the middle of January, and I said, look, we've never had it so tough as what we've had it now. They're trying to cross the channel is a disaster. We're losing an absolute fortune, and it's a nightmare. And someone put a picture of my tweet from however many years ago, and a picture of me on the BBC. On the BBC, and said how it was and how it's going. So, but it wasn't even a tweet that I actually put on. It was just a comment to someone else's tweet. So wow. that really was the first sort of that was back in January, and that was when I first realised that what I say and what I type can have consequences. And it did make me look a little bit foolish. I was a little bit embarrassed by it, but in the next breath I was like, oh fuck it, it is what it is. But yeah. I was sort of arguing. I sort of argued back a little bit, then I was muting the tweets, and I was blocking people, and I was like, oh, I don't give a shit. It is what it is. I can't take back what I've said. But it's just some some young lad that found it, and then he sent it to especially loads of Irish people. Loads of Irish people were sending it to me, and every time I put a comment on Facebook, somebody was posting this picture of this meme, which is making me look a bit stupid. So it was, it did give me a bit of a lesson. So whenever I post anything now on Facebook, I always think, who could this possibly offend? What I'm going to type now, who could this upset? Most of the time, what I put on is just interesting, but occasionally I do type things, and then that could cause some issues afterwards. So, but normally is no fucks given. It is sometimes sometimes I post things and think, oh, this is a bit close to the bone. But I've posted stuff on Facebook about our achievements, about our failures, things that go disastrously wrong, and but a lot of it is that we've got interesting work. We've got a nice fleet of vehicles. We definitely treat our drivers differently. I am so fed up with how drivers are treated, especially with distribution centres and goods in staff and security guards. Honestly, I'm sick to the back teeth of it. And every time a driver gets into a situation with a security guard, I just say to the driver, just, if you keep your calm, I will deal with it. But once the driver loses his shit and he starts arguing and he verbally abuses them or threatens them, that's it. I can't get the argument back to our advantage once that has happened. I say to drivers, just let me deal with it. Tell me what's been said. See if you can get the guy's name, and I will deal with it through the right channels, and I really will. I thrive for pulling people up on their rudeness.
And that leads me, Pete. That leads me on to. Has it been your most popular Facebook post, the Sainsbury's one about the rude person?
Yeah,
being
definitely.
rude. Is that sort of the biggest one? Because I saw that recently. That's probably about the time we started chatting, weren't it? Trying to get you on the podcast. Talk to me a bit about that Sainsbury's gig for those that may not have seen it. What happened there?
Well, so it was 7 o'clock in the morning. We had a guy that was on his way from mid Wales to Bury St Edmunds with a full load of hanging lamb to go to Waitrose, so a supermarket delivery, if you like. But obviously, my lads are away for 2 weeks at a time. They obviously got to stop and get shopping, and they can't. Nobody can afford to stop and get their shopping in services anywhere on the side of the road that is mega expensive. You know what it's like if you pull into any service area on the motorway, how much it costs for a bottle of water and an ice cream. So he just, and I'm surprised he actually got it into the car park, because most supermarket car parks are pretty narrow to get in the first place. But he parked in a Sainsbury's in Coventry, which it's like a superstore. They share the car park with the Range and something else, and it is huge. It's hundreds and hundreds of spaces. And just some local busybody just sent me a message saying how disgusted he was, and the driver should do the shopping in his own time. So I enjoy situations like that. I just thought about it for 10 minutes, and it's just normal. I'm quite instinctive. I sort of start typing, and it just goes from there. I don't really think about what I'm going to type. It just sort of comes to me as I'm typing, and then the guy replied, and I replied back, and I put a few screenshots on Facebook, and it's the post has been. It's had 30,000 likes, 18,000 shares, and it's been seen by 4.5 million people. I had all different news agencies and media companies message me about it, and I didn't make any money off it. I wasn't interested in making any money off it. But it was I spoke to one media company, and then I told them all the information about it, and then they just distributed it, and it went all over the world. I was in the office in the afternoon, and the phone rang, and it came up with a 0061, which I know is Australia. I've got a brother that lives in Australia. And I answered the phone, and I thought it was my brother, and it wasn't. It was just a random guy in Australia that saw it on Facebook, and he just wanted to ring me just to say how funny he thought it was. I had messages from all over, loads of messages from America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. And yeah, it was I enjoy that sort of shit. I really do. And if anyone was to send me any message of that, I'm always polite with what I reply. I I wouldn't. I think you need to win an argument with wit and sarcasm and intellect rather than aggression and verbal abuse. That doesn't. I can do that as well. There is that side of me as well, but I prefer the other way, and people love it. We because we're based right next to Membry services. Our trucks are in and out the services. Occasionally we sneak in and out the back way, and which is everyone else does it, but and occasionally we get fines from the trucks being in the services too long. So I've had 5 so far, and I've appealed all 5 with a similar witty letter, and all 5 of them have been overturned. The last one, I sent Park and I an invoice for £100 for my time, and they wrote back to me to say that as I've not entered a contract with them, they will not honour the invoice and ask me for a credit. So yeah, so it's just I'm surprised I actually get time to do stuff like that. I'll be honest. I'm just with what I do on a day-to-day basis is just it's quite intense, to be honest.
Fair play, mate. I think the Sainsbury's story really caught people's attention because of the driver situation at the minute and the way the general public will view the profession as it is with transport, and that they can be pricks about it. So talk to me a bit, if you don't mind. Are you happy to talk about sort of the driver shortage and that sort of thing? Is it pay related, or is it the way people are treated? What's your opinion, and how do you feel about it, Pete?
I feel quite strongly, I'll be honest. For at the minute, we are in a balance really of just for me, I would say the way to keep a driver is not what you pay them, is how you treat them. Ultimately, pay is the most important thing for any person, but it's not the only reason why people will work for a certain company, for what they pay. We pay our drivers, I would say, the going rate for European work. We cannot compete with a company that pays on an hourly rate. We try and make all of our profit from transport, where Tesco's make all of their profit from their stores, any supermarket. So they, if they have got a shortage of drivers, they're not offsetting their wages for their truck drivers against their transport costs. They would just put the consumer will ultimately pay anyway. So the people now, I had a driver sent me a WhatsApp today with a picture of a company that is offering £40 an hour, and I replied with, get me an application form as well then. But it is. Listen, we can't compete with that. We're not going to even try and compete with that. And if any of our drivers will try and back us into a corner or hold us to ransom, I'm sorry, but where we are is where we are. I would like to think we pay our drivers the right money. We treat them properly. We treat them with respect. We give them the best equipment, and we do really good work. And I know people that would drive a rusty wheelbarrow for £1,000 a week, and I know people that would drive a V8 Scania for £250 a week. And I think they're both mad. It's a balance of everything. For me, the companies that are paying outrageous wages at the minute is because they are such wankers to work for in the first place, and they are now reaping what they sow. I've been to places before. I went to a place a few weeks ago to do a delivery, and as you walk in the office, there is a massive sign on the door: "No drivers allowed in this office." I think that's outrageous. Honestly, I met one of my drivers last week to change trailers, and I was there 10 minutes before him, and I had him breakfast and a cup of coffee in the Chippenham truck stop, waiting for him when he got there. And he's like, "Have I got time?" Yeah, there's always time for a coffee. There's always time for a sandwich. And that is, we had really sad news. We had a driver that used to work for us. He hasn't worked for us for 3 years. He died last week of a COVID-related illness. He had a lung infection. And he hasn't worked for us for 3 years, but me and Ray, we are really cut up about it. He was our best driver for probably 12 years when we were really flourishing from going from the haulier that we were to the hanging meat haulier, which we got into by accident, which is another interesting story. But we and I put a post on our Facebook page about this driver called Mark that worked for us for a long time. He come on my stag weekend when I got in Dublin when I got married, and I would class him as a mate as well as a driver. And he really was a top guy. And he's the sort of old school driver that whatever problems he faced when he was away, he would overcome them. If he had a puncture, he had a brake chamber gone, or he had a rejected pallet, he would normally solve it before I even had to get involved. And he left us because he didn't want to work the unsociable hours that we were still working, but he still left on good terms.
Yeah.
And but it's the industry is savage. Do I think drivers are worth £1,000 a week? No, I don't. But as a driver, your aim is to get the maximum money for the minimum effort, and as an employer, you want to get the maximum effort for the minimum money, and you need to get a happy balance where everyone is satisfied, and then go from there. But we cannot afford to compete with companies that are paying the outrageous wages like this. And I do believe that if they treated their drivers properly in the first place, then they would have drivers. It is the key is how you treat them, how you speak to them. It's not what you pay them. The money is a massive factor in it, and that is ultimately why people go to work. But I wouldn't work for somebody that treated me like I was just a number.
Hi, it's Pete from Flagship Partners. We're really proud to sponsor a Half Dozen Things podcast. At Flagship Partners, we take road safety really seriously, and we're your road safety partnership. We help transport companies with compliance and training across their businesses, including first aid, driver CPC, and other transport management services. So if you're FORS accredited or you want to improve your operator compliance risk score, give Flagship Partners a call today.
It's not. That's and I wouldn't expect my drivers. I had a driver come into the office today. As soon as he walked through the door, I'm trying a cup of tea, mate. I made him a cup of tea, and that is how we are. It is. If drivers need anything from me, I would do it. I would do everything I can to make sure it happens. If they said, "Oh, mate, I need an early finish for this. I need a late start for that," or "Can you get me back in the week for this?" It's difficult with the type of work we do on long distance work. I've got drivers that love going to Italy. I've got drivers that hate going to Italy. I've got drivers that love Spain. I've got drivers that love Germany. And I will always try and factor that in my planning, because a driver that's happy is a productive driver. I've got drivers that want to go as far away as possible. I've got drivers that don't like going far. I've got drivers that love doing night work, drivers that don't really like the night work, but they'll do it. And sometimes it doesn't work. And you've got a driver that doesn't really like nights going on nights, and a driver that doesn't like Germany going to Germany. But I try, if I can, to plan all the work that people enjoy. If you've got a driver on a job that is really enjoying what he's doing, he will overcome any obstacle that is thrown in front of him. If you've got a driver that's doing a job that he hates, he's got a problem, he'll just sit there and wait for you to sort it out. And that's just my style of planning. I know all of my drivers personally. I know what they like. I know what they don't like. I know what they're capable of. I know how hard you can push them, because the job that we're in is push sometimes. When it's hanging meat, we now have to factor in delays in Calais with clearing customs. So but our customers still expect it done in the same time frame. So I had a driver the other week that was chipping out, and he had a 4-hour delay to cross the channel, and then another 5-hour delay in customs because they were short of vets. And it is difficult to get around it, but it is, and it is a stressful job, and is. If a driver's if the driver's at it, we're always really open with our drivers. If you've got a grievance and you want to air it, that's fine. We will listen to it. Might not agree to you, but we will let you have your say. And then we will discuss it afterwards. And I've worked out over the years. It's taken me. I would like to say that I have got a good style of management, but it's taken me a long time.
Sounds like it, Pete. To be fair,
it took me a long time to get it right there. It really did. Obviously, when I was first started working for Ray, I was in my early 20s, and all the drivers were older than me, and they'd all been there and done it, and I was still. And Ray sort of threw me in at the deep end. He was like, it started off with, "I'm just going to nip out for an hour. Here's the phone. I'm just going to nip out for a couple of hours. Here's the phone. Or I'm not coming in until lunchtime tomorrow." And it just sort of grew from there. And I like a challenge, and I like just to get on with it. And it just, we took a planner on, a guy called Noel. His name was Noel Minshew. Some listeners might know him. He is he's dead now, unfortunately, but he was the oracle of transport. It doesn't matter where the job was or what type of trailer, he would have done it at some point. And he knew more about transport than me and Ray put together. But he couldn't manage drivers, and he couldn't handle the stress. So we would find him at dinner time, and he'd be like 6 pints of Stella in the pub around the corner, and just like, I just can't cope, and I'm going to feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. So even though he knew so much about transport, being able to manage the drivers and put that all together is is different. It doesn't matter how
Big
much
skill,
you know. Yeah, if you can't manage it, like, oh, I'll just constant. Every day I get problems. Every single day I will have a driver that misses a ferry, or a pallet rejected, or a fridge that's broken down, or a puncture. And it is just prioritizing the problems and just dealing with them as you go. It is very, very rarely I will have a day where everything is smooth. Very rare. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in what we do.
But every day's interesting. Every day's different, right?
Listen, I get to work and it's like a whirlwind, and then it's like time to go home again. It is. It is